If the dip is the king of all upper body movements, then the push-up is the prince. There are so many people doing push-ups incorrectly out there, so it's important that you follow these principles because my clients get it right. Knowing how and when to progress and regress is crucial. The more parallel your body is to the floor, the more difficult. Using a Smith machine or an adjustable barbell is the easiest way to gauge progress. The only negative is that this will only allow you to use a pronated grip. Using a neutral grip is going to allow you to get the full range of motion. The easiest way to gauge progress with a neutral grip is by using TRX straps. The only negative is that they tend to kind of rub up against the arms, and then they're a lot more difficult starting off because they're more unstable. You may have to get a little bit creative if you still want to gauge progress at the beginning while still getting the benefits of neutral grip. But as you move closer to the floor, it's a lot easier to find things to use that allows for the proper angle for neutral grip. And dumbbells on a progressively lower platform is going to be your best bet. Dumbbells are great because they allow for the full range of motion and they take some of the pressure off the wrist. But it's also good that you strengthen the wrist by not using dumbbells. A lot of people get wrist pain starting off with their push-ups because the position of the wrist is usually a position that the body just isn't used to yet. But your body will adapt as long as you gradually progress the load. One easy way to gradually progress the wrist to get stronger is by simply just elevating the palm at an angle. Now let's go over some key positioning points. Now everyone's body is different, so it's important that you pay attention to these points and learn how to apply them to your own body. The first thing we want is we want the wrist to be strong. We don't want the wrist bending down or the wrist bending up. We also want the wrist to be straight, not in and not out, but straight. You also want the pressure to be distributed throughout the entire hand and not just the palm. Next, we want the upper back to help stabilize the chest. So we want to make sure that we squeeze the middle of the back the entire time. We also want to maintain equal tension the entire movement. So we want to control the full range of motion at the bottom, at lockout, and then we also want to make sure that we're pushing equally with both arms, not using one over the other. Here are the biggest no-nos. Number 1, letting the stomach and the lower back cave. You want to brace by squeezing your glutes, neutralizing your pelvis, and hollowing out your body. Next, it's very important that you don't let your elbows flare as you go down or as you come up. You also want to prevent the shoulders from shrugging and rounding forward. This often happens when people are lowering below the chest instead of to the mid-chest. The elbows will have a slight angle, but that's just because of the bracing in the upper back. This position isn't necessarily bad, it's just going to work a different stimulus. So place your hands right at the bottom of the shoulders, not too high and not too low. And not too wide and also not too narrow. Keeping your hands neutral is going to give you the best chance at getting the correct position. Be sure to go over all these points so that you can give yourself the best chance of getting the full benefit of this great exercise. It may take some time, but the push-up has so many different variations that you can kind of play around with. So getting this fundamental exercise down is going to take your strength world to a whole new level.